All right. So what we do next is we'll start the class Bhagavad Gita where we stop. See, I have picked up these three verses from Bhagavad Gita 2.7, 3.2, and 18.61, where it talks about confusion, what you should do when you are confused. Okay, this is from here. So this is the reference, the verses chapter 2. I can send you this if any of you interested. I can send you this even when you're yourself in any of these situations. You can refer to that by yourself, and then if you have questions, you can ask me also. See, for
Yeah,
example, yes. Did
yeah.
anyone did anyone say anything? So confusion is the next is the first topic I want to talk to you about just quickly. So chapter 2 text 7. If you go simply go to Google and then you type Bhagavad Gita or just type here like BG 2.7. That's it, and then it will bring you this first one, vedabase.io. That's where we are here right now. Okay, so in this verse it is recommended that whenever you are confused, so in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, who is a cousin of Krishna, Krishna is said to be the Supreme Lord, and when he was confused, he surrendered himself. Okay, and to give you the background, Arjuna is son of Pandu. So there are five brothers, as a son, the five sons of Pandu, the king from India. And actually, there is no India or Australia or anything back then. It was written more than 5,000 years ago. It was not like that. It was just the world, one part of the world. And yes, it is now called as India. And there are Gauravas and Pandavas, two different armies. Okay, like they are cousins, and then Arjuna's side, they are good guys, and the Gaurava side, they are bad guys. So by doing this atrocity, Gauravas wanted to capture the kingdom from Pandavas, which are rightly meant for this Pandavas, this Arjuna. Okay, so anyway, because of lot of ill treatment done by this bad guys, the good guys, decided, okay, they didn't have a choice but to, you know, declare a war. They didn't declare a war, but it happened that way. So in the war, there would be millions of people will be killed, and Arjuna, being a very nice guy, very soft-hearted and compassionate, he doesn't want to kill his own kinsmen, because opposite army is none other than his own, kinsmen, like his cousins, brothers, teachers, and uh, you know. Uh, grandfather, uncles, like that. So he doesn't want to do that, because if we kill someone, there will be a sinful reaction, right? Whoever we, you know, like violence, the violence is not good. So when we are doing violence mentally or physically, doesn't matter, the violence is violence. Therefore we should avoid, we should avoid this kind of violence behavior towards any living entities. So that's what he wanted to do. So he is confused, because now he is in the middle of the battlefield, whether he should fight or not. Even in our lives, sometimes we get confused whether we should take up the new job, or we should apply for a new job, or whether we are in the right job. So many confusions we do have in our day-to-day life. Whenever we have confusion, what should we do? We should accept a guru, okay, a spiritual master or bona fide representative of the spiritual master. If we do not have someone to go to who is supposed to be more intelligent than us spiritually, correct? If we do not have such person, then what happens is, with our little intelligence, we make our own decisions, or we ask someone with the same level of intelligence, they also do not have spiritual exposure, then they might bring you the options with the material aspects only, correct? So therefore we should think outside of the box, outside of this material conception. Therefore we should accept a guru. That's what Arjuna did. Okay, so whenever we are in confusion, we should accept a guru. And that is exactly what the next verse also says, 3.2, that he says that his intelligence is so confused and he can't make a decision. So he is asking Krishna, who is the supreme Lord, so please tell me for sure what is beneficial for me, tell me. So that is how our surrender should be. If we are asking someone, we should not think that, okay, this person should tell me what is favorable for me. No, we should actually have open mind and ask them with full faith and trust. Yes, this person, whatever he guides me, is for my benefit only. Let me accept that. Let me hear that with faith. Okay, so that kind of mood we should develop. And then the next verse is, how this one here. So it is said that the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Energy, or the Supreme Soul is living in every living entity's heart. Okay, that is why sometimes we get the instinct. The instinct is nothing but the guidance from the Supreme Self or the Super Soul inside our heart. So what happens because we have not? Can anyone? Can everybody mute yourself because there is a background noise? Can you all mute yourself, please? Okay. So, what happens is when we are confused, we must surrender to the Guru. But when we do not have a Guru, we should surrender to the Super Soul within our heart. So, the Super Soul is always guiding us because we have not opened up for the spiritual path. That's why our mind, our intelligence, everything is covered by this cloud of material aspects. We have to remove that cloud by doing this kind of mantra meditation practice. Then the super soul inside will be very much connected to us. It's always there, it's always connected, but we re-establish this connection and we realize that connection. That is more important, right? It's not that the connection is not there, connection is always there. It's just us, we forgot the connection is there. Okay, we forgot the existence of the connection between the self and the super self. So to re-establish that, we need some practice or technique. That is why we are doing mantra meditation. When we do that, whenever, whatever stage we are in, whether you're angry or, see in this guide, the chart that I was showing, whatever stage you are in, right, you still practice it, mantra meditation. And when you do the practice, you ask the super soul to guide you to how to avoid the lust inside you, how to avoid the pride inside you. We don't need to be proud of ourselves. See, in the material world, we didn't bring anything when we were born. And when we die, we don't take anything with us. So, why do we get all this pride? That is not necessary. Okay? Therefore, we should avoid all that. So, this is part of our mantra meditation session. And we are going to the Gita Saram, which is Bhagavad Gita class. It's a Vedic science class. And last time when we discussed the first chapter, I'll just recap everything. So I stopped at almost at second chapter, right? So just to recap, there are 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is nothing but a song sung by or spoken by the Supreme Lord Krishna to his cousin come disciple Arjuna. Okay, he is one of the Pandavas. So Arjuna, as I said, he didn't want to fight because he doesn't want to incur sinful reactions, and also there are so many other consequences also when he kill the warriors, and his family members will be left alone, and the ladies will be approached by bad guys if they don't have men in the house, right? And therefore there would be progeny will be corrupted, so there would be misguided progeny. So the generation, they don't have the elders. So we need elders to guide us, correct? When we don't have elders in our family, then the choices that we make will not be always right. These are the things that Arjuna is forecasting, and therefore he wanted to avoid the fight, and he was ready to even go to a forest and live by begging, then to fight and conquer the kingdom and enjoy in the taint of the blood from his own relatives. Okay, so that's how much compassionate he was. But on the contrary, his cousin Duryodhana, who is a bad guy, and he has 99 other brothers, he wanted the kingdom, and he can do whatever it takes to attain the kingdom. So that's how much pride, anger, greed, envy, lust, and illusion he was in. Okay, whereas Arjuna, he was so soft hearted and kind and compassionate. That is why he was qualified to receive this knowledge of transcendence, so that he can continue his life with the in the spiritual path. So he can make the right decision. Sometimes violence is important. In For example, in the army, the violence is important to kill the enemies. You can't just tell, no, I am non-violent, I can't do anything like killing or anything like that. No, you can't say that, because you are a warrior. You're supposed to do your duty. If you do not do your duty, if you're a mother, you need to take care of your children, family, husband, and everything. If you're a father, you're a head of a family, you need to do exact same thing. Take care of your wife, family members, and etc. And also the society. So there are so many responsibilities we have, so many roles that we perform. We need to do all our duties dutifully, just for the sake of doing it. Okay, but we should not be attached to the results. So that's something we are learning from Bhagavad Gita chapter 2. So because Arjuna was so much attached to the relationship, but after all, that relationship was only bodily platform, correct? It's not that he was, he was in this transcendental or spiritual platform. But one must understand, Arjuna is a devotee of the Lord. Therefore, he is in the transcendental position. But just to give us a lesson, he was taken as an example to give us the lesson. Arjuna was picked, as Arjuna was chosen, so that the knowledge can be delivered through that medium. It's not that Arjuna is a character that didn't exist. No, Arjuna existed 5,000 years ago. Krishna came, who's he's said to be a supreme lord. He appeared on the planet Earth 5,000 years ago to give this knowledge and to eliminate the miscreants. So when Arjuna was in the first chapter, it spoke about how Dhritarashtra, who's father of Duryodhana, he was actually born blind, and he was spiritually blind also. Some of us also are spiritually ignorant. So spiritually blind means we are spiritually ignorant. It means lack of spiritual knowledge. So we are very much qualified academically. We might hold PhD, we might be an analyst or scientist or doctor, but when it comes to the spiritual science, we are so ignorant. We don't know what is body, what is soul, what is matter, what is super soul and everything. So like Arjuna, again, we shouldn't disrespect Arjuna's position. It is only for our own benefit he was chosen. Like I give you an analogy. One time, a mother of the son, she arranged a wedding for her son to a girl. So the girl got married to this boy, and they came, and there was some function, like some event or some party or something. So the lady, the daughter-in-law, was serving food to the relatives. And in India, there is a tradition. You put a banana leaf in front of the, like, instead of giving a paper plate here. In India, we give banana leaf, put it on the floor. We all sit on the floor and eat with our hands. This is a tradition. And when she was serving, she was putting little rice and a lot of sabzi. See, a sabzi means like a curry or vegetables, that type of things. And actually, I follow Sattvic diet. That's how I eat it. I put little bit of buckwheat or rice or quinoa. Sattvic means the things in the mode of goodness. Okay, so I try to follow food diet that is in mode of goodness, and try to hear the things in mode of goodness or pure goodness, and do things in the mode of pure goodness or goodness. Okay, this is my lifestyle, by the way. So I eat that way only. I eat little bit of rice or buckwheat, and then I eat so much of vegetables like that. But in India, the tradition is not like that. You serve a lot of rice and little bit of vegetable varieties of vegetables. Okay. So this daughter-in-law, maybe she was in Sattvic diet or something, I don't know. She was serving in a way that little bit of rice and a lot of sabzi, and then mother-in-law saw, and she doesn't want to chastise the daughter-in-law because she is new to the family, and she might take it as an offense. So therefore, she calls her daughter and says loudly that, you daughter, you're so foolish. You don't even know how to serve the relatives, how to serve the food. Look at you, look at your look at the leaf. How did you serve? You're supposed to put a lot of rice and little sabzi, but not other way around. Then daughter-in-law understood, oh, this is bad. I did that, and she is taking the chastisement. So that was my bad. I did the mistake. Okay, now I understand. Maybe next time I correct it. So this is exactly how Arjuna was picked up as a daughter, and we are like daughter-in-law. So because Krishna direct doesn't directly tell us to do this, not to do that, not do this. So because we don't listen, okay, we take it as an offense. So that's why Arjuna was picked, chosen. So when Arjuna was told, oh, Arjuna, you're a fool, you don't even know the difference between body and soul. When someone tells you like that, you will be offended, right? So what are you talking about, like that? But when Arjuna was chosen and chastised by Krishna, Arjuna accepted everything nicely. And for us, this is for us, right? So we take that and we apply in our life. Oh, this is what it is. Okay, this is Atmanyana. Atmanana means knowledge about the soul. Hmm? So, so first chapter fully he was so bewildered. Arjuna was so confused. He was so distressed. He was in depression, deep depression. He can't do anything. He has this bow and arrow. He put it down and said, "Look, I can't fight. I'm so overwhelmed." Because of his compassionate reason, and he was so fearful of losing the loved ones, and he was not interested in enjoying the kingdom even if he can't quit. And then he was also worried about the devastation that is going to bring after the war. A lot of family members would lose, the wives and children would lose the head of the family, the men. So he was thinking all of this, and also the future generations also he was worried about. So he decided not to fight. Now, what he did in the chapter second, seventh verse, you remember this verse we discussed. So he's saying, so I'm just gonna read this because this is very nice sloka or verse. Karpanya dosha pahada swabhavah prachami tvam dharma sammuda chetah yashreyasyanishta bruhi tanme shishyate hamsadimam tvam prapannam. So Arjuna is saying here that now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrender unto you. Please instruct me. So here is a turning point. Now he is saying that I fully surrender unto you, Krishna. Tell me what should I do? I don't know. See, Arjuna has asked, he asked so many questions. He would, in chapter 2 also, he would ask why people are so doing sinful activities, even though they know it is sin. Sometimes we kill other living entities, we know it is a sin, we still do it. And because law doesn't stop us, but law of nature wouldn't accept that. The law of government may accept it, but law of nature wouldn't accept it. There will be reaction, there will be consequences. So Arjuna is confused why people are doing that. Then Krishna will answer, it's only because of lust. Because of our lust we make we commit sinful activities. Lust not only means having this affair towards opposite sex, or having attraction towards opposite sex. Lust also means it's a deep desire that you can't control. Hmm? It's being greedy or something like that. So Arjuna, when he surrendered, the entire first chapter, the Supreme Lord Krishna didn't speak a word. Okay, only one time. So when he wanted to see who have assembled, Arjuna wanted to see who have assembled in the army, who was ready to fight, for this kingdom. Then Arjuna was brought in the middle of the army by Krishna, because Krishna was serving as a chariot driver, even though he's Supreme Lord. Because he is a devotee, Arjuna is a devotee, he came down from his position and served Arjuna as a chariot driver. So that was the only time he spoke. But then entire first chapter he didn't speak anything. Only Arjuna spoke most of the verses. So second chapter now, because Arjuna asked for it. That's why I'm telling you, you need to ask. Okay, if you're confused, if you're lazy, if you're angry, if you're lusty, if you're envious, if you're greed, if you're pride, whatever your situation is, or if you're happy, whatever it is, you ask the super soul within you. Okay, so now he asked, then only Krishna spoke. Until then, he did not speak. Correct? If somebody calls me only, I'll go, right? I wouldn't voluntarily go, naturally. Hmm? Um, and of course, as it is said, if Supreme Lord is our Supreme Father, he should come automatically, yes. But if you call him, he will give you the right direction. Hmm? So he'll give you the right path so that you can take up that, and then you can continue your journey in the right way, right direction. So, in the entire second chapter, Krishna is teaching Arjuna about the difference between the body and the soul. So, the body is imperishable. Okay, the body is destructible. Hmm? So, the body is temporary. So, it is made up of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Okay, so it is because so temporary. Why we are so attached to it? Arjuna was so attached to the bodily relationship only. See, my name is Aish, and I have the relationship with my neighbor, my son, my husband. So I am so and so for this body only, not for the soul, not for the spirit. The spirit is permanent, eternal. So every time when the body dies, when the soul leaves the body, that's when the body dies, correct? When the soul leaves the body perishes. So it composts into the earth, water, fire, and air and ether. It merges back into the same elements, right? These five elements. But the soul, which is not made up of earth or water or fire or air or ether, it is made up of Sat Chit Ananda. That means it's full of eternity, full of bliss, and full of knowledge. See, for you and me, because we are in this bodily conception, our intelligence is so small and our mind is weak. The soul, it it doesn't have mind or intelligence. It carry that, yes, but as a soul itself, it's full of knowledge by itself. Therefore it doesn't have to have any extra exterior elements. But for the body, it's like a computer. You need a hardware, you need a CPU, which is main CPU, central processing unit, and there is software which has to be installed in there, correct? But a person, me, the soul or the operator of the computer, I'm different from all these techniques, all these technological things. I'm simply operating. To get my results, I'm doing something using the element or a material. Similarly, to go from one destination to another destination, the soul uses the body. So, how the soul gets the body? The soul gets the body based on his previous activities in his previous lives. So, if I behaved like a human, and it's a higher chance that I might get a human life in the next life. But if I merely behave like an animal, or a bird, or a plant, then I become one of those. Correct? So, therefore, to understand this concept, Arjuna was given all this Atmanyana, Atma Tattva, the knowledge of the soul, to him, so that he can get out of that bodily platform and then understand that, look, the relationship, whatever you are thinking, they are your relatives, it is only temporary. They will die. Whether you kill them or not kill them, they will die eventually. You can't stop their dying. Dying means who are dying. The dying part is only applied for the body, not the soul. Only the matter dies, not the soul, not the spirit. So it is like I'm changing my dress because the dress is no longer wearable condition. I change my cloth and put a new cloth on. Like that, when the body is no longer in a condition to continue to live, to survive, it just has to, it has to pass away. Okay? And therefore, this soul will choose to leave the body. It's not soul choose the lead. The body shows soul doesn't have a choice actually. As per the karma, which we will discuss in chapter 3. So, based on our karma, karma means activities. Based on our activities, su karma means good activities, we get good body. We karma, bad activities, we get bad body. Sometimes you get a human body because you have su karma. Okay, you had you have done good activities, so you're entitled to get a human body. But you are in a miserable condition in this human body. You might be sick, poor, miserable in whatever ways. We see that, right? We do see in our day-to-day lives, we do come across those kind of unfortunate souls, who are in the body, which is not very favorable for their life living. So therefore, even I don't have a perfect body either. Okay, I have a human life, yes, thank you, but no, I don't have a perfect body. So that's why we need to implement some external factors to make it perfect, like following good diet, following good exercise regime, following mantra meditation practice. So whatever externally we can do, we should do it. And the external factors apply internally also when we do it with consciousness, mindfulness. Hmm? And mindfulness and consciousness are two different things. And we are not this mind. I told last time also, we are not this mind, we are not this body, we are spirit soul, right? So this knowledge again given in detail in chapter 2. So, so let me see what other things I would like to cover. We haven't finished chapter 2. We are almost there to finish. Like we are in verse number 60. So there are 72 verses. We covered up to 60 verses. So Arjuna, and another thing is the material world is full of duality. What is duality? Means it's good and bad, plus and minus, man and woman, profit and loss, like that. We have this duality in this material world. Therefore, we have to face it. There is a nice verse in chapter 2, 15th verse. It says that Matras parastu kaunteya shita ushna sugadakada ahama piyana tyata tidikshasva bharada. So, the verse says that the summer and winter come and go, Arjuna. Like that, happiness and distress will also come and go. So, you should not lament, you should tolerate it. Okay, that's a key word. So what should we do? Tolerate it. Sometimes the weather is uncontrollable, right? So I don't like cold weathers. My body, especially with my health condition, it can't accept cold weather. It just goes doomed like that. And what do I do? I have to tolerate it. I have to make external efforts to make sure I'm warm enough. Correct? So tolerate is the key. Learn to tolerate it. And Arjuna was saying that, look, I have to kill them, but I don't want to kill them, right? So Krishna is saying birth and death are inevitable. The person one takes birth or destined to die. So whether you like it or not, it has to happen. But if you do it for me, at least you will be in a very good position. You'll get the benefit, spiritual benefit. Because when we follow the instruction of the spiritual literature, we are doing the right thing. Because what is right for you may not be right for me. Because I'm not following spirituality, you're not following spirituality. So your right is so morally right. But to me, that moral is not moral to me. Correct? Sometimes it happens. So, but when you follow spiritual literature, your right and my right is right because we are following the same formula, the same literature. That is why we have to be in spiritual practice and, nourish our spiritual culture. Simply following material aspects will not help us permanently. And to avoid this cycle of repeated birth and death, because as I said, as per our karma, we have to reap the reaction, whether it's good or bad. Some people are so beautiful, some people are not so beautiful. So this is based on karma, law of nature. It's not you and me who has to decide, who can decide. It's the law of nature that decides. Sometimes we don't want this kind of body, but we don't have a choice because we did something to deserve this. Who we are, where we are. Sometimes we are proud of ourselves. We don't have to be proud of ourselves either. As I said, we don't own anything. Why do we have to be proud of ourselves? But people, the culture that is teaching us these days, academically mainly, or the scientists, they teach in a way that you should be proud of yourself, you should be competitive, you should be rich, you should be famous, powerful. Look, you don't have to be all of those things. You need to be calm and peaceful, and therefore you will be happy automatically, correct? It's not that you have to get all these external factors, but how many of us have read again and again that celebrities commit suicide, millionaires are depressed and psychological problem? Why? They are famous, they are powerful, they are rich, they are beautiful, but why still? That's because they haven't cultivated their spiritual practice. That's why. If you're not connected with the spirituality, then the chances of coming back to this material world again and again is 100%. Okay, so to stop this cycle, because yes, we are doing activities, therefore reactions are there. For the reactions, you have to take birth, correct? Because for example, if a person rapes a girl in this life, and the next life he has to become a girl, and then someone has to rape that person, that way he learns the lesson. So one may question, how does he know? He might forget everything. Yes, but the law of nature has done the job, and you have suffered. That's all matter. The soul is suffering. Even the soul naturally is very full of knowledge, eternal and blissful. But because the soul is identifying with the body, therefore the soul feels the suffering. The soul never suffers. See, there was a story. I tell this story also many times. So there was a father and three children, and children means yeah, grown up guys. So the father wanted to sell his house, so he arranged with the boys, like, look, sell the house, and that's been sold also. So this man is coming past his house, which was just getting sold. The fire, it is on fire. The house is on the fire. So the father becomes very anxious and saying, "Oh my God, it's on fire." So the first son is coming and asking. There was a big crowd watching the house, which is on fire, and this guy, the father, looking at the fire, the houses on the fire, and getting anxious, looking at that position, looking at his father's position, the first son arrives there and says, "Daddy, why are you crying? Why are you becoming so anxious?" And father explains, and he said, "No problem. I sold this house to a nice guy, and don't worry." "Oh, really? Okay, that's good." Then he immediately stopped his anxiety and he became calm, because now he is not identifying himself with the house anymore. He is not having any connection with the house anymore mentally. See, this is all coming from the mind. So the pride, anger, greed, envy, lust, illusion, these are all born of the mind, born out of the mind. That is why we need to control the mind. Then all these anarthas, these impurities will vanish. At least it will become in passive state. At least it will go into the passive state. So he was so much worried. Now he is no longer worried because of the connection is no longer there. The second son is arriving there and asking, "Father, why you're not upset? Because you see that our house is on the fire, but you're not even getting upset. What's the matter?" Then the father explains, "Your brother told me all the things. It is sold." Then the second son said, "No, we only got the advance. We didn't get the full payment. It's only deposit." Then the father became very anxious again, and he's like, "What? Didn't we fully sell the house? It's just the advance, the deposit." "Yes, Then again he became worried, he started to cry and he became very upset. The third son arrives and asks what's the matter, and then he explains what the first son said, and then second son said, um, then third son said, don't worry, daddy. Yes, that happened, that all true. But the person who bought the house is very nice guy. Even though the house is on fire, he gave the deposit. What he said was because he accepted, he promised that he would take the house. Therefore, he doesn't want to break the promise in the middle. He said he'll make the full payment, even though the house is on the fire. He's fine. Then the father again started to feel the disconnection, and again he became relieved. This is how we are in the position. Sometimes we buy a new car, somebody vandalizes the car, we become anxious and stressed. But when we know that the car doesn't belong to us, that happened one time. So my neighbor saw his car coming, and he became anxious because it was on the, it was told away, and he saw and he became very anxious. Oh, what happened to my car? And then he realized that that doesn't belong to him. That car actually looks exactly like his own car, but that car actually belongs to another neighbor's car. Okay, so by looking at the registration number, he realized, oh yes, so this is how we become connected and disconnected. So to have that disconnection means having the relief. You all feel that relief, right? So when you say, oh, that's not yours, don't worry, oh, thank goodness it's not mine. So if you have a cup broke and it's not your cup, then you'll be like, oh, thank goodness it's not my cup, it's somebody else's cup. That's being self-centric, bodily conception, all these factors, right? But when we are following the spiritual practice, we become selfless. When something bad happens, yes, we still have the good habits and goodness in us. Yes, I agree. But to become a better person, this is what we are trying to achieve, right? We are all good persons. I don't deny that. Yes, I agree totally. But to become a better person, we need to take up something spiritual. Hmm? So you can see, you can read a lot of material science, you can read a lot of academical science, and yes, you know so much of the planets, the space, the medical science, everything. But you don't know your spiritual science, what is body and soul, the difference, what is the use of you know living in this body. And if you don't know how to get out of this body, then what is the use again of learning all this academic science but don't know the basics, correct? So therefore, Arjuna was given all this knowledge, and also he was encouraged to fight because that is his duty. If my duty is a mother, then I should perform my duty. If my duty is being a citizen, then I should be a citizen. I shouldn't become a terrorist, correct? So therefore, we need to practice this. And other suggestion Krishna gave was uh, karma yoga, and in that nishkama karma yoga, that means you do your duty, but don't get attached to the results. That's where the problem starts, correct? So I did my job interview. Now I'm so anxious, what's going to happen? Or sometimes the cricket results, or the footy results, or political election results, sometimes we become anxious, right? These are all temporary, but still we become so anxious and depressed and stressed. And that not only affects our own self, but also our atmosphere, our loved ones. Sometimes we react loudly. We are mentally depressed, so sometimes we react loudly, express loudly, correct? Not violently, but loudly. But they don't even understand what is going on in your mind, but we just explode at one stage. So to come back to the normality, to normal way of life, which we never knew what is normal way of life, because all our life we've been taught to be being competitive and rich and powerful, as I said before. Therefore, we never know what is normal life means, correct? So the normality is like being happy, peaceful, Atmaram. That's the subject we will cover next time when we meet. Atmaram means self-satisfied. You're satisfied in yourself. You're self-content. So how your intelligence will react to this world, how your mind will react to this world. You train the mind. You give the knowledge to the intelligence. How? Through this Vedic science is one of the ways to do it. Correct? So when we give the knowledge what happens is automatically we become peaceful, because the mind only knows two things: good, bad, take it or leave it, accept it or deny it. That's all it knows. It only knows two things. But the intelligence is the one who rationalize things, analyze things, process it, discriminates it. So if your intelligence doesn't have a knowledge, right? You're searching for something in your computer, but your computer hasn't stored that software. Then whatever you type, you won't get it because it's not there in the first place. So you need to install the software and then search, and then you'll get it. So therefore, your intelligence needs to be installed. I mean, knowledge has to be installed in your intelligence. The right knowledge, not any knowledge. We already have heaps of knowledge that's almost equal to nothing, useless. I studied engineering. I studied masters in accounting and finance. I don't use it every day. For the spiritual science, I only first year I studied a little bit. Automatically, I got the knowledge. Automatically, I got the detachment, and then I started feeling the relief, the disconnection. It's disconnection means it's not that out of body experience or something like that. You coming out of the body and you're saying, "Oh, I'm not this body." Yes, you're not this body. The disconnection means identifying yourself with the body and getting worried about it. You're thinking, yes, say for example, I get sick. Yes, I get sick. Acknowledge it, accept it, respond it. You don't say, I'm not this body, I'm not going to take care. No. Vehicle, it's your vehicle, car, driver, and the car. To reach from one destination to another destination, car has to be maintained properly. That way, driver can take the car nicely, drive the car nicely, and reach the destination. Our destination is to attain the spiritual path, attain that eternity, eternal bliss, not coming back again to the material world. That is our goal. To achieve that, you need to have some vehicle. That vehicle is our body. So you use the body to reach that, okay? So that is what recommended, that you just leave the results to Krishna. You don't get attached to the results. Yes, you got a job interview. Yes, you did the job interview. You don't know what is the result. That's fine. Could be yes or no, correct? This material world of duality, it could be this or that. That is the probability, 50-50. What else could be? Would they say you come for the job and do it for 6 months and we'll see how we go and then we'll take you? That means it's still yes, correct? Then still it falls under the category of yes. So therefore, to avoid this kind of duality, we need to detach ourselves from the results and the body, and whatever you do, leave the results to Krishna. If you, because when we are new, we don't know who is Krishna. Yes, Supreme Lord, we say that, we see that here in this book, but we don't have connection. That's okay, don't worry, leave it to the supreme energy. Okay, yes, so long as you're not attached to the results, and whatever you're doing your duty to the best of your ability, then you are into success of spiritual life. That's the beginning. So this mantra meditation practice will automatically give you this mind control and everything. Don't worry. Even when you chant, you might go to sleep. It's fine. You might get hundreds of other thoughts. It's fine. You just need to listen to the sound vibration. Hear it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You're hearing it. That's the technique. You keep doing it. Eventually you're focused on hearing. So if some other thoughts come, you bring the mind back. That's what Arjuna was also advised by Krishna. Bring it back. Okay, so I stop here. The next session we will continue from the verse 61, but again we'll recap a little bit more. Any questions or comments?